And today we're going to be making some Stoneground sourdough bread, and that tastes absolutely lush. And for your recipe you want 907 grams white Stoneground flour, 14 grams of sea salt, 226 grams of sourdough starter, make sure this is well active, and 560 milliliters of warm water. And for our mixing, first start by adding all our dry ingredients into the machine bowl and the liquid. Then we're going to give this a little mix round with the hook, just to get the dough started. Then we're going to be adding in our sourdough active starter. Now we're going to put our bowl onto the machine, and we're going to start that mixing on first speed just for a few minutes. Then we're going to add in our salt, and then we're going to knock it up onto second speed for 10 minutes. But I would suggest you checking it halfway through, just to make sure it's not too slack. Our dough's now ready, so we'll be getting it off the machine. But first we need to be checking to see if it's got a nice window. If it's got a nice clear window, that dough is ready to go. If it's not, then what you need to do is leave it on for a mix a bit longer. Now we're going to be putting our dough into a plastic bowl with a lid, and we're going to be leaving that there for around about 6 hours. It can take longer, so bear this in mind. Now 6 hours later, all we're going to be doing is putting the dough onto the table and scaling it off. Now I'm going to be scaling this off into £1 pieces, or if you're using new money, it's around about 400 grams, or you can actually do it at 500 grams if you want to. It depends on you. And if you do have any dough over at the end, all we need to be doing is putting that back into the fridge and leaving it there, because that'll once again be a starter for another dough. It's really that simple. And now for moulding the bread, all we do is get hold of it, pull it out a little bit, and just fold it over. It's very much like doing normal bread. So never worry about how you're doing sourdough. There's so many different methods. Sometimes messing around with it can actually spoil the bread more so. But as you can see, I'm just doing it as though I would be doing a standard yeasted loaf. And I'm exactly moulding them up in the same way. So if you're moulding it up like this, you're pushing the dough into the table to get them nice and round. There we go. Flatten them down, cut all the gases out of it, and just mould it up. Now if you've got really good sourdough, it will really work well. There's no doubt about it. It will come back regardless if it's good stuff. And there we go. Now I've got a little tail on it, like I would do with yeasted bread. It's that simple. So all we're going to be doing with these now is popping them into bread tins. Now you can bake them straight out if you want to, on trays. But I'm actually making them into little loaves, because that's what I want to do. But normally I'd probably put them into little tins, like cake tins or like that. And there we go. Now we're going to be leaving them in that tins for, it could take nearly 6 hours. It can take longer, so bear this in mind when you're doing sourdough. You really just got to keep an eye on it. If you put that into a nice warm place at around about 25 to 30 Celsius, you're okay. You're right there. Our sourdough bread is ready, so we're going to be baking it in the oven for around about 30 minutes at an oven temperature of 210 Celsius. But first and foremost, we need to spray the tops with water. This will help the sourdough to pull in the oven. Also, at the same time, you can actually, inside your oven, pop some water anyway. But what I'm going to be doing with these is just cutting the tops, almost like a split loaf. I'm not going to be too fancy with these. Right, we'll get them straight into the oven. Now I've got the bread into the oven, I'm going to be spraying the inside of the oven with water. Now you can do this with ice cubes if you like, especially if you're at home. Just a few minutes with water sprayed into the oven's just enough. Well, there we go. We'll see you back in 30 minutes. Our sourdough bread's ready. Now when you get this out of the oven, now to find out if your bread is actually done or not, You can tap the bottom. Now remember, it's not going to sound hollow like a yeasted loaf because sourdough tends to be a bit more wetter inside, because you've made it wetter to start with. So just remember that. You can usually tell by the top. Now, sometimes sourdough bread does take a lot longer. It can take up to 45 minutes in an oven. All depends on your oven. But that looks really nice. And it smells absolutely lush. Yep. I'm really liking that bread. It was very tasty, and that absolutely beautiful. And if you like this type of content, please subscribe and please share, and don't forget to check the description for your recipe. And we'll see you again very shortly on the Crazy Baker channel. Laters!